Hey guys, it's Roscoe on Space Couch. Today I'm going to be reviewing this, The Martian by Andy Weir. Now a film starring Matt Damon, of course, as Mark Watney, the stranded astronaut. So, during a dust storm, the crew of the Ares 3 expedition mission to Mars, they have to abort that mission. The winds are too strong, it's going to blow over their vehicle and destroy it. Now, during that evacuation, Mark Watney, he is like blown away by some debris and his life support signals go offline. So the crew think he's being killed, and as much as they want to try and look around for him in this dust storm, try and bring his body home or hopefully find him alive, they can't stay, they've got to leave, otherwise they're all gonna die. You can imagine how happy that flight back to Earth is gonna be. So anyway, Watney wakes up sometime later after the dust storm passes to find he's got a hole in his suit and he's running low on oxygen. Oh, and he's been impaled by a piece of metal also. So, first task, he got to make his way back to the base and then start working out how long he can survive. So basically, he's got to make water, air and food that was provisioned for 6 astronauts for 1 month to last them a lot longer until any potential rescue. And a large part of the book's attraction for me, certainly, is how he goes from one problem to the next, to the next, to the next, coming up with solutions and hacks to keep things going. It's all very inventive. Guy is a genius, let me tell you. It's also a series of failures and challenges. Like, say, this is not necessarily all in the correct order. He has to grow crops on a barren planet using a handful of potatoes that was supposed to be the crew's Thanksgiving dinner, or part of it anyway. And also he's got to continue to make water and oxygen, as well as later on rocket fuel. He's also then got to figure out how he's going to get to the other side of the planet, where the launch vehicle, the ascent vehicle rather, for the next Mars mission, the Ares 4 mission, is already waiting. So, Mars is constantly trying to kill him. For instance, he's in an airlock when the fabric of the hab ruptures, sends the airlock flipping head over heels. He wakes up in that totally detached airlock with the faceplate of his spacesuit shattered and the hab totally collapsed onto the ground as it's lost all its pressure. Right, so anyway, now NASA, believing that he died on Mars, for several weeks they're not taking any photos of the landing site, because with NASA, any photo they take has to be released to the public within 24 hours. They don't want to be showing pictures of Mark Watney's dead body, just as everybody's trying to get over the initial huge devastation that they felt. They don't want to go stirring it up again. When they do start taking these photos and they realise certain things are not in the same place that it was previously, and not because of the storm, you know, it's like Mark Watney is alive. So yes, and now NASA's got to figure out a way, if possible, to bring him home. Eventually they realise that gravity assist by the ship that's coming back from Mars with the rest of the crew, pick up some supplies in Earth orbit, swing back to Mars. So that's going to really be the only feasible way that they can bring him home. It'll be close though. We're talking like a few days leeway at the most. So, by now, Watney has gone out on an expedition, several hundred kilometres in one of the base's rovers, to the old Pathfinder lander and rover, because even though the battery of that is long since dead, he can still use the comms to get in contact with Earth. The base communications array was destroyed during the storm. Now, by this time, everyone on Earth knows that he's alive, except his crewmates, who NASA had been keeping in the dark. They didn't want to give them unnecessary hope that Watney was still alive, and then he dies, you know, without any sort of plan. But you know, NASA doesn't really want to stick its neck out. It doesn't want to risk a lot on the lives of all of the astronauts versus risking a little on Mark Watney's. You know, say, oh yeah, if we lose him, that's acceptable, the other crew will still live. Obviously the other crew doesn't really like that idea very much. NASA would prefer to just launch some supplies to Mars to keep Watney going over until there can be a rescue on a later mission, but the rocket fails and they're back to square one. Someone leaks the gravity assist manoeuvre to the crew of the ship that's coming back, and obviously says, yep, we're going back to get him, you guys sort it out, don't even try and stop us. That is indeed what happens. They have to go back to Mars. So Watney's got to make another journey. This time he's got to go halfway across the planet to this other landing site. Before he does, he's lost communications with Earth. He was using some sort of power tool that tripped the switches and fried the communications. He has no contact at all with Earth, other than him leaving messages in Morse code in rocks for the satellites flying overhead to see him. Fortunately, he already knows the plan of action, when he's got to leave for the ascent vehicle, how long it's going to take him, what he's got to do when he gets there. When he does finally start his journey, he's using one of the rovers as his little base, and the other rover is like his towing haulage with all the stuff that he's going to need in it. He's not that far from the rocket. He flips both rovers in an accident. Everything that happens to Mark Watney, it's just like Mars is constantly trying to kill him. You know, it's like nothing good ever happens on Mars, he will tell you that. Anyway, he manages to fix the rovers, flip them back over, and get to the landing, the escape point rather. That's about 50 days before the departure. And then he's got to essentially disassemble half that rocket to jettison a load of weight. So all the windows have got to come out, most of the instrument panel, all the chairs, the rest of the crew that's not needed. And one of the engines has got to come off in order for it to be light enough to be able to reach orbit and rendezvous with the ship, which is, as it's doing a gravity-assisted flyby, it's not stopping or slowing down, supposedly. It's not going to go into orbit, they've got one shot, or that's it. Guess what? You know, the launch and rendezvous don't exactly go as planned, but in the end they do retrieve him and they start the journey home. And after all that time of Mars trying to kill him, now that he's finally on his way back home after about 18 months on the Red Planet, he finishes by saying, this is the happiest day of my life. And it's such a relief as well. The book, it was absolutely fantastic. I thoroughly recommend it. This guy, he is MacGyver in space, you know. He's just a brilliant hero. He really is a great character. He's going to be so inspiring for future generations of people who want to join NASA. I really enjoyed the format of this book. It's mostly his log entries. There's some scenes that is like set back on Earth and NASA trying to figure out what it's doing, or say with the crew on the ship, as well as like say flashbacks to the day of departure when it all went wrong in the first place. It's crammed full of facts and maths and physics, but also he then gives you all the answers as well, because this is him working through the problem. You really do start to root for Watney, and the reader is desperate to see him make it home. It's a great book. I can't wait to see the film. I mean, that looks visually spectacular, and obviously Ridley Scott is in charge of it as well. It should be quite something. I shall let you know once I've seen it, but in the meantime, definitely check out the book version. It is fantastic. Please subscribe to my channel if you enjoyed this content. Leave me a comment or a suggestion for another book you'd like to see me review, or let me know if you read The Martian or seen the film and what you thought of it, or why don't you hit that like button.